What depths will man go to seek respect from even the people that he despises? This statement is exactly what we will discuss in this video. Notes from Underground is truly profound in its psychological depth, and Dostoyevsky has created a very complicated character within the underground man, and we can see that in part 2 of the novel, where he is in a very interesting circumstance visiting former schoolmates at a dinner party. So in the last video, we discussed the underground man and his encounter with an officer. And at this point, the underground man is at a high. He's finally recognized by the officer and is eager to continue his reign of filling his emotional void. And so in the last video, if his emotional void was the need to be recognized, in this video, the void that we will be looking at is seeking validation from others. Now, this section of part 2, the underground man meets a former schoolmate named Simonov, and Simonov is accompanied in his apartment with 2 other guests, and they're discussing a farewell dinner for a man named Zvirkov. Zvirkov is a former schoolmate of the underground man who is now an officer in the army. The underground man despises Zvirkov for being handsome, confident, wealthy, and successful with women, and Simonov and the 2 other guests are very fond of Zvirkov, being impressed with all of the success that he has in his life. One of the guests borrows money from Zvirkov regularly, and the other one is described as genuine by the underground man, but he still doesn't like him because he says that he focuses too much of his life on success. During the conversation of the farewell dinner, all 3 men, including Simonov, sort of exclude the underground man from the conversation, and the underground man eventually notices this and becomes very conscious. The underground man offers to contribute money to Zvirkov's farewell dinner with the hopes of gaining his former schoolmate's respect. Simonov hesitates to allow the underground man to join the dinner, but eventually invites him. The underground man is clearly not wanted at the party. However, he feels that his presence is necessary in order to gain respect from people he feels inferior to. After leaving the apartment, the underground man regrets his behavior, knowing that he is clearly not wanted at this farewell dinner. And on top of that, he hates Zvirkov and doesn't have the money to pay for the dinner. At this point, the underground man is contemplating on whether or not he should go, and he is in such a point for the need of social interaction and the validation of his former schoolmates that he convinces himself to go. Now, in this section, we reach the moment of truth, and this is the underground man arriving to the dinner party. And underground man, when he arrives at the dinner party, believes that he's 25 minutes late, and so he arrives there to find out that Simonov had made the booking for 6 p.m. And so for half an hour, he is awkwardly waiting, walking around the restaurant, and he is overconscious of what the waiters are thinking of him arriving so early. Zvirkov and the other guests finally arrive, and throughout the night display an awkwardness with the underground man and frequently make comments about his status and appearance. The underground man eventually explodes at them, insisting that he is indifferent from what they think of him and that he will be paying for the dinner himself. At this point, the underground man is unwanted by the guests, and during his isolation alone in the restaurant, he continues to show patterns of self-loathing on why he's unable to interact with others or be included in the conversation. He becomes jealous that the other guests are laughing and talking amongst each other, and he wishes to make peace and gel into the conversation, but at this point he's drunk and overconscious of what the guests will think of him. The guests are drunk at this point, and at 11 the other men make a move to leave and go to a brothel. The underground man begs one of the guests for forgiveness and asks for 6 rubles so that he can accompany them to the brothel. The guest agrees after the underground man has begged him, and he is still on the chase to pursue the friendship and the respect of his former classmates. The underground man says that by the end of the night, if he is unable to attain the friendship and the respect of his classmates, that he will slap Zvirkov's face. The underground man alternates between saying that he doesn't care what people think of him to being overconscious of what they think. He finally arrives to the brothel in a hurry, and at this point the other men are off with women. He paces around and decides to sleep with a young prostitute. Throughout the night, the underground man tries to redeem himself, and he wants to fill that emotional void again of seeking validation from his former schoolmates. Even though he was overly conscious of what people were thinking of him, the schoolmates were more interested in the conversation and the laughter they were having amongst each other. The underground man's goal for the entire night was to attain friendship, and if he wasn't able to attain friendship, slapping Zvirkov in the face would allow the other guests to have respect for him, as he was able to stand up to someone that he felt inferior to. This section is truly insightful, and its psychological depth is unparalleled. Dostoyevsky really assesses the human condition here on how much we think in our minds and how much others think of ourselves. And if we put it into context, what others were thinking in this section was mainly concerning conversation, laughter, and friendship, whereas what the underground man was thinking in his head was that the others are against him. The underground man's feeling of overconsciousness goes back to the earlier video on this channel about overconsciousness being a disease. How when one is too trapped in their thoughts, they're unable to exist beyond themselves and enjoy the present moment. But since the underground man has so many emotional voids, he looks at different ways of filling these voids. And his void of validation and being recognized by others is clearly seen, where even though he's humiliated throughout the entire night, he still tries to pursue friendship with his former classmates.